Alright, Shalom Akim, Kal Halal, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Racha Kodash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and Rubel, and peace and salutation to the Akim around the world that pushes through to the four corners of the earth. We already know the tensions with Venezuela and America because they joined with Putin. Now you're even seeing more
Juan
tension.
Guaido has declared himself to be the interim president of Venezuela. He's choosing not to recognize the inauguration of Nicolas Maduro, the president who was just sworn in. No election took place to select Juan Guaido, who's the head of the National Assembly. At this point, he is granting no legitimacy to the Venezuelan state. And it's worth noting that the U.S. government loves him. This is what was said by U.S. Vice President Mike Pence.
Nicolas Maduro is a dictator with no legitimate claim to power who has oppressed the Venezuelan people for far too long.
Now, you know, America's move is always try to, tarnish the other person's name to make it look like if they're so bad, to try to justify their actions.
The United States strongly supports the courageous decision by Juan Guaido, the president of the National Assembly, to invoke constitutional protections and declare the country's presidency vacant.
Now,
As a next strategy of America, whenever it has somebody ruling that they don't agree with, they like to try to put somebody else in that place who they could be able to control.
at this point, rumors are circulating that Donald Trump is planning to recognize the unelected leader Guaido as Venezuela's head of state. Marco Rubio, the U.S. senator, is trumpeting the call.
From the U.S.'s perspective, since we've recognized the legitimate presidency of the National Assembly's president pending a new election, I think that the time has come to expel the Maduro-appointed ambassadors and allow the new constitutional president to appoint replacements.
The Washington Post even gave a platform to Guaido, publishing an op-ed that he wrote. Now, doesn't that sound a lot like foreign meddling? The USA has been pretty open about choosing to side with the opposition against Venezuela's government. Back when she was in office, this is what Nikki Haley said at the United Nations.
Now, this is foreign meddling because just like every country, Venezuela have their ways of how they does do elections and be able to pick somebody. So the Americans now want to say that they want to pick somebody for Venezuela. Now it's not in full effect yet, but they're pushing it slowly but surely until eventually something going to come out of it. Because we know Putin side with the original Venezuelan president.
The systematic oppression of the Venezuelan people has become an active threat to the entire region. For the safety and the security of all peoples in Latin America, it is time for Maduro to go.
Now, back in September, the White House would not deny that it had met with people that were plotting a coup to overthrow the Venezuelan government. When asked about the issue, it simply gave a vague statement about democracy. And since then, we've actually heard Donald Trump calling for the violent overthrow of the Venezuelan government.
It's a regime that frankly could be toppled very quickly by the military if the military decides to do that.
Now, the Washington Post and the New York Times, two top newspapers in the USA, have both published op-eds calling for the military to overthrow the elected government in Venezuela. Now, U.S. leaders say this is simply out of humanitarian concerns. They only want to intervene to rescue those poor, oppressed Venezuelans.
Socialism has bankrupted the oil-rich nation and driven its people
ESO needs to be destroyed.
into abject poverty.
So we've seen the completion of Venezuela's collapse into dictatorship.
We have many options for Venezuela, including a possible military option.
There is no greater challenge today than the full-scale dismantling of democracy and the heartbreaking humanitarian disaster in Venezuela.
But how exactly can U.S. leaders claim that they know what average Venezuelans want?
Venezuela is facing a deepening economic, political, and social crisis, but we can't possibly understand this crisis or see a way out of the crisis without understanding U.S. intervention. And the U.S. has been trying to topple this government since the year 2000, 2001. And so, the U.S. is not promoting democracy in Venezuela. The U.S. is stepping up in intervention in a moment in which it sees that it now has an actual possibility of overthrowing the government. The U.S.
And the funny thing about it, majority of people don't even know that Americans have a big part to play in these other countries going through so much poverty in the first place. You understand? So they blaming Venezuela for something that they have majority of the control over, which is the amount of hardship the country going through.
Particularly is threatening to.
For example, the drop in oil prices. Who does have a big part to play in that? The U.S. But they're making it look like if the Venezuelan president had fault.
Recognize this opposition as the illegitimate government, and it is threatening to impose a heightened oil sanction so that it would no longer import Venezuelan oil and refine it in the United States. The purpose is not to bring democracy. The U.S. doesn't intervene in other countries in order to bring democracy to those countries. It intervenes in order to secure its own interests. So it bolsters, recognizes, and props up dictatorships when it's in the U.S. interest to do so, and it tries to bring about regime change through elections in which it intervenes in those elections.
So, the USA says that it wants democracy in Venezuela. Well, nothing sounds more democratic than having the military roll into the Capitol and overthrow the elected leaders. Caleb Maupin, RT, New York.
The thing with America, when they can't get the way, they run up in your country and do what they want, and at the same time try to justify it. But they try to justify it first before they do it, so they would look like guys all the time. Where does our Google? I think this part Google. Right. President of Google 2018. I think is that. No. Something I did Google last time, and it showed 2019 president crisis. They say Juan Guaido. It said the newly appointed president of the National Assembly of Venezuela began motions to form a traditional government shortly after assuming his new role in the National Assembly on 5th of January 2019. So if you Google it, you're seeing the what you're looking for? The results. Yes, you're seeing the results of this actually happening. It's stating that whether Maduro begins his new term on the 10th or not, the country would not have a legitimate. Well, you could also go ahead and read the rest, but it's to show you that he's sort of starting to meddle already, and hopefully through this something break out. With that, I like to give all praises and glory to Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, Ba'asham Ruach HaKodesh, that belongs to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and rule well, and peace and salutation to the Akim around the world that pushes through to the four corners of the earth. Alright, Shalom.